Welcome everybody, this is Gaming is Still Life, and welcome. This is my most dearest collection, my pride and joy, and something that I feel that is probably the most expensive thing to collect and to be into. Basically, Neo Geo, or SNK, is a company near and dear to my heart. It's a company that started out in the early 80s with games like Ikari Warriors and Vanguard that showed up on the scene. SNK was started by a man by the name of Ikichi Kawasaki. He started SNK, and it was called, SNK stands for Shin Nihon Kikaku. Now, what that stands for is New Japan Project. And in those days, those were the days of arcades. Those were the days where you would go out and you would go and see your friends and compete against your friends and see people that you know, people you don't know, and all be able to get together and have a good time. The new game would be coming out. It would be like the new movie coming out. We would all go see it, and it would just be a blast. In those days, SNK had a dream. They wanted to bring their games to the masses. And one way that they did that is back in 1985, this system was coming out called the Nintendo Entertainment System. And SNK was one of the very first to be able to get a license to be able to put their games on that machine. And this pretty much brought people to be able to experience SNK games for the very first time and bring it to the mass markets. This was a very sure move, but in my opinion was a double-edged sword, because the intention, the way their games were meant to be experienced, were not what really came out on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Even though they were great ports and people enjoyed them, in later entries, like when Neo Geo got and making with their MVS system for the arcade market, and the MVS system was an idea by SNK of having multiple media video discs that can go into one arcade. So you could be an arcade owner in those days. If you wanted a new game, you would have to buy a whole new arcade cabinet. With Neo Geo, you would just need the one cabinet and you can just switch out the discs, or have multiple discs in one machine, which made it a lot more affordable. And also in 1991, Neo Geo had the foresight. They wanted to bring this to the home, but they didn't want to do it, they didn't want to cut any corners. They wanted to bring the full experience. They wanted to bring the exact same games that you were playing in the arcade to the home. And that was just a concept that was unheard of, unreal, and it was just something that nobody was doing back then. Unfortunately, it also came with a cost. This system released for $599. The last system that did that, the PlayStation 3, a few years ago, failed. Even back then, that was an unheard of amount of money for a video game system. So this was marketed to adults. Unfortunately, this Neo Geo was way ahead of its time. This came out when video games were still seen as kids' things, and it was very hard to market. But there was a fandom out there, and it was just very expensive. Now, these games today are still very relevant. They're unbelievable. You're going to probably be hearing me say that a lot. But this is my collection. It's not the biggest collection, but it's mine. First, I'm going to start out with some of my loose games. All right, these are all my loose games. This is Blues Journey. This is one of the rare platform games for the system. Beautiful game, very colorful. It's kind of a neat twist to it, where you can be like small or big in the game, and it's just cool. It's a cool game. Oh, this is a game that I just recently got. This is a game that I've been hunting down for a little while. It's got a messed up label, but I got a decent deal for it. It's Aero Fighters 3. I'm very into shooters, and I haven't been able to get a box for it yet, but this is probably going to be one of my crowning achievements right here. Oh, Ninja Commando. This is another game that I just recently got. This was actually a shooter, but it's a ninja running vertically up into the screen, throwing stars, and it's a great fast-paced game and holds up well today. Here are some of my fighting games that I got, not boxed yet. This is King of Fighters 2002, King of Fighters 2000, King of Fighters 98, and 2003. Okay, those are all my loose games. Those are relatively affordable, some of the King of Fighters, just because they made so many of them. Now, this is the very first, when I got my consoleized Neo Geo games that I got, and this was a multi-disc, and basically there's 161 titles on here, and this just kind of gives you a taste or a feel of what games, if you feel like collecting, that you're gonna buy. Oh, Cyberlift. I remember beating this with my friends. This is very similar to Contra, and this game has a twist ending. It's something that a lot of people you probably already know about, especially Neo Geo fans, but this was a run and gun. Reminded me of like Alien Syndrome or some of the Sega games that were coming out, and it's just a fantastic game. But look at the art in some of these games. These games are just unbelievable. And some of these games are 20 years old and they still hold up. Ninja Combat. I remember going into the arcade and just seeing this for the first time, and I was just blown away by the colors. This one doesn't hold up maybe that well in today's market, but you just get you and another friend, and you go through this, and it's nothing but a blast. I have 2 copies of this game. This is a game that put SNK on the map. Samurai Showdown. It was colorful. It's just a work of art. It's absolutely a work of art. They don't make games like this anymore, unfortunately. King of Monsters 2. Oh man, this is just great memories. This is just over the top cartoon looking characters. There's a giant like Godzilla, there's a giant robot, there's a superhero guy that looks like it's just pure magna. It's just unbelievable action. Destroy the city, sprites everywhere, just gorgeous games. Metal Slug X. One of my favorite Metal Slugs is part 2. Basically all this is they clean it up, they make it run better, and just unbelievable side scroller. I think most people who think of SNK or Neo Geo probably think of this game. Oh man, this is just a classic. This is probably one of the very first games I remember walking to the theater. I remember this more than the movie that I watched at the time. That tells you something. I remember walking to the theater, seeing this on an arcade machine, watching the intro and being like, man, I gotta play that now.
Summer 1975. A nightmare awaits me. I am being recalled to Non-Torm headquarters. Do I have to go back to the hell again?
I didn't care about the movie when I saw this. This was 3D games before there was 3D games. Great game. Samurai Showdown 2. Probably the pinnacle maybe the pinnacle of the Samurai Showdown games. More characters, more graphics, more sprites, better colors. It's more of a work of art. Just gorgeous game. Oh, Real Bout 2, newcomers. Fast-paced action, colorful graphics, beats any Street Fighter out there, I think, personally. And it's just clean graphics, beautiful, fast-paced action. Oh, Art of Fighting. Art of Fighting, I think, was the very first game that actually put time and energy into learning. This is one of the very first games that I actually played with my friends all the time. This game was the very first game that actually showed damage on the characters. Like, you would get bruised and bloody jaws, and you could see them on the character. And fast-paced action, super fast-paced action. Awesome game. The pinnacle of the King of Fighters, probably 98. If you want a game for competition, this is what you get. You want to settle disagreements, you get into a game of King of Fighters 98. Aero Fighters 2. This is probably one of my favorite shooters. It's way up there on the list, probably top 3. This is a game I'm very good at. This is a game that's hard. But they just make the best shooters the best. They really do. I think this one's made by SNK. I don't know if it was Synosis or I don't know. Oh, bonus, Blazing Star. Unbelievable graphics, unbelievable soundtrack. Just soundtrack. I'm thinking of buying just the CD Neo Geo just to get the soundtrack so I can hear it. Great game. This is a hard game for me to find. I did find it, and this is one of my jewels in my collection right here. Waka Waka, another work of art, truly. It's just anime all the way, unbelievable, over-the-top fighting game action. It's fantastic, really, it's fantastic. Oh, Shock Troopers. Shock Troopers 1, my favorite out of all of them. This is a side scroller. I think it's vertical and horizontal. This was one of the first games that I remember that had like a water stage, a mountain stage, a jungle stage. Very lush, very good gameplay for its day. And another one of those work of arts, classic. Oh man, I think if there's a game that's going to beat Samurai Showdown 2, it's going to be Samurai Showdown 4. They changed the system around on this game, but it was just more, faster, better, unbelievable graphics. Holds up to this day. If you're a Neo Geo fan, I have this game on multiple systems, including my Switch. On my PlayStation, I got it's because it's just a really good game. So, Real Bout Special, actually. This is a game that I think combined elements of two games. I think it was Art of Fighting and Fatal Fury. It's fast-paced action, but the graphics are so clean, so tight, and very colorful, and they just did look at the art. Look at this artwork. Look at these characters. Alright. Oh, 1945 plus. This is, I think, the first game that I got good at. This is a Psycho, and this is, I think, the same developer that did the Aero Fighters game worked on these games too, because they're very similar in the menus and stuff like that. But I just can't get enough of these games. I love this game. And I finally completed my collection. I was able to get this, Aero Fighters 2 and 3, which is what I wanted. And I think the crown jewel out of all my games, and one of the games that's near and dear to my heart in a lot of ways. I have so many good memories, and I still play this to this day. And it's a perfect copy for me in my heart, is Mark of the Wolves. And this is basically the last Fatal Fury game. And it's a clear copy, holographic label. It's got the serial number. It's a little bit yellowing on the case, but that's just going to happen. And this is probably by far one of my favorite games. It's got a great soundtrack on it, and it's fantastic. They don't make games like this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a little trip down memory lane. This is my crown jewel of my collection, and this is something I'll never part with, and I will have this to my dying days. I will, because Neo Geo, SNK, SNK is still around today. They're still relevant. They're completely different as a company, but they're still around. Just because they just made great games. They really did. And the only problem is that they're so expensive. I mean, each one of these games, look at them. They used to put the soundboard. They cared so much about the quality of the game. The sound was on a whole separate board than the game, because they wanted the sound to be just perfect quality. And nobody builds things like this. This is basically a system on a disc. Just crazy. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Gaming is Still Life. This is my Neo Geo most prized collection, and stay tuned for more videos, and catch you next video. All right? Thanks.